So, how many of you have felt the pain of lack of access to capital? You have an idea, you believe so much in, you have the enthusiasm, you have a plan, you have the drive, you are so convinced about your plan. And then sometimes, you're probably like a young college graduate. But when you go to the bank, or you go to an investor, or you approach an angel investor, or you talk to your friends, or you talk to your family members, and you hit a brick wall. No capital. Nobody is giving you capital. And it's not that it's something that just happened for one day. But some of us have been in a perpetual state of lack of access to capital for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I have met people who for 15 years, they said that they have this business idea, this incredible idea, or they have an invention. And then they keep on saying, oh, but there's nobody to sponsor me. I have met countless young artists who have music. They have beautiful music, but they can't produce it. And they say, we don't have capital. We don't have anybody to sponsor. And so, lack of capital, lack of access, not even lack of capital, but lack of access to capital seems to be like the number one problem for many people when it comes to personal finance. Number one problem. And I can understand it, because if you don't have capital, if you don't create capital, you're literally going nowhere. And every dream has a capital requirement. Every dream comes with a capital requirement. And so many of you can prove that actually capital is holding you hostage. And I would like you to be honest, because in my coaching sessions, honesty, being plain, being sincere, being authentic is key. Because we are not here, like, this is not like your typical social media where people are flashing wads of cash and then showing you their cars and their mansions. No, we are real here. So if you feel, okay, in fact, let's do it this way. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being very severe, and then 0 meaning none, to what degree do you feel that capital is holding you hostage? In other words, if capital is holding you hostage so badly, you're a 10. If capital is holding you a little bit hostage, you can still manage, but you are a 5. If capital doesn't hold you hostage at all, then you are a 0. So everybody type your number. Okay? To what degree do you feel that lack of capital is holding you hostage? All right, so we have a 5. I used to be a 10. Access to capital, especially when I left Shell, and then lost all my money and wanted to start a business. Access to capital was a big problem. It was a big hurdle. That was when I personally developed the terminology, capital barrier. Okay, so I can see a 5. I can see a 0. So Cardivic DIY, okay. And I would like you to give us some insight, to your answer. So you are saying you don't have any problem when it comes to capital, that you have full access to capital. And so that's why you have a 0. Please give us some more insight as to why capital is not, so what can we learn from you? Because capital barrier is a big problem, and especially for many people in the developing world. In the Western world, access to capital is far much easier, far much better. It's still hard. People are still locked out from access to capital, but in the Western world, because of also the credit system that they are running, which doesn't exist in most parts of Africa, credit is available. And if you actually have a good plan, you might get credit. I remember many years ago, this was around early 2000s. I had an account with TD Bank in Canada. Okay, so when I went to Canada, so I opened an account with TD Bank. And it was amazing because, like, literally every month, they sent me emails offering to give me money for investments up to $50,000, at that time. So, lack of access to capital is a big problem, when it comes to personal finance. So I would like you've given an answer, you've given a number there. I would like you to give us insight. What can we learn? Or why did you pick a 5? Why did you pick 10? And then why did you pick 0? It's important. Okay. Cardivic DIY says it's all about positive affirmation. Didn't want to identify with. Okay. All right. Ade said, thank you, coach, for your continuous sessions. Your guidance, consistency, and clarity have made a real difference. Thank you. I love to hear that. Okay, very good. So now, I want to tell you something for all of us, including me, who have had capital barriers. The system was designed exactly so. Everybody type the system. You really need to understand where this is going. So it's not that anything is wrong with you. It's not that, you have a lower IQ than wealthy people. It's not that your education is not good enough. But the system was designed to keep you out. And, the financial system of the world, you might look broken. You see what's going on in the global financial situation. Inflation, devaluation of currencies, all kinds of problems, with the monetary systems. Today, is the Fed going to cut the rate? Tomorrow, are they going to not to cut it? Quantitative easing, quantitative, they use all these very big words that the ordinary person in the streets, doesn't understand. But the system is working exactly as it was designed. What was the financial system designed to do? It was designed to keep capital in the hands of those who already have it. How many of you have heard the expression that the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer? Anybody heard it before? Okay? That's exactly how the system was designed. Now, in monetary terms, they call it de-risking. But it's actually a rigged game. So, for tonight, what if I told you, and that's the good news, that there's a back door. I use that back door. I use that back door myself to escape capital barrier, because I found that access to capital, huge problem, especially for entrepreneurs. Access to capital, keeps people die, literally die all their life without access to capital. And then you need capital to build. So it's important to drop everything else and talk about how you are going to get access, how you are going to create access to capital. So that's why this is very important tonight. And right now, there are so many opportunities in the stock market, in the US stock market, in the Nigerian stock market. But guess what? People don't have the capital. Do you know, for instance, in the Nigerian stock market, there's a cycle. It is a cycle that has benefited me the most. November, December, the prices of these stocks just come at such a shocking and incredible discount, only for it to double, sometimes triple, or even quadruple in January and February. Strange cycle. And if you have capital, you can, just within November, December, January and February, you can make the money, all the money you need for the rest of the year, all the money that will take care of school fee, take care of your vacations, take care of everything, take care of your health, You can make that money. But guess what? You don't have capital. And very few people have the capital. I met with one of my heroes, a billionaire, one of the very well-known billionaires who also started a very, very prosperous, one of the biggest banks. This guy, this was 2 years ago. Yeah, this was 2 years ago. Or was it last year? In 1 year, this guy made 15 billion. I think last year he made like 20 or 25 billion naira. Or as dividend. As dividend. As dividend in one company. It's not hidden. You can actually find it online. He made 15 billion and then 20 something billion as dividend. And then this other guy who owns Boa Foods and then Dangote, I don't know the numbers, but if you search, you can find it. But I think these guys made more than 100 billion in dividends. So you see, that's the way the system is designed. And so you find the people who already have money. They are the ones, who have so much capital revolving around them. But you yourself, you don't even have the capital to be able to get into the game. So today, I'm going to give you 3 steps to beat the system at its own game and start creating capital. So, because you're probably stuck because of lack of access to capital in a world where capital is the oxygen of progress, like I've explained. Tell me one thing you can do without capital when it comes to your personal finance. What can you accomplish without capital? So, and this is where the story gets interesting. You see, because the system you're fighting, which is the global financial system, was never built to help the weak rise. Look around you. Look at the banking system. Look at the apps. Look at everything. Nothing was built to help the weak. And every day around me, I meet people who are unbanked, people who don't even know what you're talking about. Every day around me, I meet people who don't even know, they've never heard about the stock market. And I'm talking about even educated people. In the Nigerian stock market, in Nigeria, only 0.5%, is it 0.5% or less than 5% of adults play in that market. But that's where all the people who have capital, that's where they are playing. Okay, so the system you are fighting was never built to help the weak. It's not a philanthropic system. It's not a merciful system. And it's not a just system. As you can tell, if you've ever looked for capital to start something, it was rather built to protect capital from the weak. It was actually built to keep you off, to wall you out. You have to understand, the system is brutal. You have to understand it. There's nothing emotional about it. The financial system was not designed to help you. It was not designed to be merciful. It's what it is. Okay, so I know that sounds harsh, but let me show you the truth. Number one, let me give you some aha moments. Number one, the system is designed to exclude by default. The system is designed to exclude by default. Okay? And like I've mentioned, you see, the banking system. So let me explain how the system was designed to exclude you. Because the banking system runs on risk. And risk is equal to fear. And fear creates barriers. Banks don't give capital to the people who need it. They give capital to people who already have capital, like I've explained. One Nigerian billionaire, he has the dealership for Ford Motors, for I believe Range Rover, and a couple of other car companies. He once told me told us, okay, in a conference where I was moderating the session. He once told us how the bank came to his house and gave him 32 billion naira of those days. No collateral, nothing. They actually came to his house. And the bank, GT Bank, because it's public knowledge. It's not, the story is out there. And he told it publicly. GT Bank went and gave this guy 32 billion. He didn't ask, no collateral, nothing. But when last did you go to the bank to ask for anything? They will ask you to bring your grandfather, bring your grandmother, bring all kinds of things. Bring a crocodile that has, 3 teeth. They'll come with all kinds of requirements. And then you don't have that. But meanwhile, these same banks are giving the people who already have capital, they are giving them capital without any requirements. So they give capital to people who already have capital, who already have assets, who have networks, who have paperwork, and who have predictable income. You have got to understand the system in order to beat it. No, just think about it. So they talk about then the other thing, which is also the sad thing about it. The old rule of the traditional banking system is that, you have a good credit score, and you have, if you're a business owner, you have a long business history, and then you have collateral. So they want you to prove that you don't need the money before they will give it to you. Isn't it insane? Yeah, by asking you for collateral, they're asking you for houses, they're asking you for land, they're asking you for all kinds of things, your business history. So they're basically saying, prove to us that you don't need the money before we give it to you. But the point is, and that is something I want you to observe, because this will begin to set you free. So the point is that the banks are looking backward at your past. All those things that you're requiring is your past, your credit history, your tax returns for the last year. They are utterly terrified about the future, which is their weakness, and which is the weakness that I'm going to tell you how to exploit. So the traditional financial system is built to fund a proven past. Yeah, a proven past, not a potential field future. This is where your key begins to come in. You see, your future, that is your idea, your hustle, your vision, your enthusiasm, your energy is your greatest asset. Your future is your greatest asset, but they have no framework to value it. They have no framework to value your talent. They have no framework. The traditional banking system has no framework to value what you can become, to value your potential. So you just go there, you don't have a suit, you just go there, ordinary shirt, and you're wearing slippers because you can't afford a shoe. Yeah, they just look at you and say, please get out of the banking hall. This place is not for you. But yet they don't know that you have an innovation. They don't know that you have a secret source that is worth $1 billion in the future. So you have to build your own, because the bank wouldn't bank on you. So you have to build your own. You see, the poor need capital the most. Isn't it? Yeah, interact with me. Interact with me. The poor need capital the most. The middle class needs it to grow. But the system says, you're too risky for us. You're too risky for us. So what happens? You feel stuck. You feel defeated. You feel like your dreams are defective. But nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. So you have to stop being intimidated. This is a very important point. You have to stop being intimidated by the traditional banking system. Stop being intimidated by the traditional banking system. Oh, they don't want to give you, that's fine. Then you build your own. Because their own system was designed to filter you out. So that's the point people give up. That's when people give up the most. I do not know how to get, because they did. Many years ago, I realized that the financial system was not designed for my benefit. It was not designed to benefit me. It started becoming clear to me when the bank came. I was working in Shell at the moment. And then at that time, they used to, because Shell was a big place, big boys place. We had lots of money. They paid us very well. They paid some people millions in those days, in a month. So the banks, remember, the banks only give money to people who already have money. So they will come to our office to sell all kinds of products. That's how they came and sold car. They got into a partnership. One bank got into a partnership with a car dealer. And then they said, oh, the deal is go to the car dealer, drive out with any car of your choice, and don't bother to pay. You will only start paying in 6 months' time. What did yours truly do? I went there. And then I drove out with SUV, Armada, Nissan Armada SUV, brand new. Because everything was going good. And then I had plan that I was going to be paying back. That plan failed. That plan failed. And the plan failed at about the same time I was leaving Shell. So by the time, 6 months went like 6 hours. Because, I was saying, 6 months, not a problem. I would soon, 6 months, by the time it's 6 months, I have the money. 6 months came. Financial situations happened that I didn't plan for. That's how I started seeing the dark side of the bank. These guys, when they came to my office, they were smiling, they were happy, petting you, and then they would bring beautiful ladies. These banks will bring very attractive ladies to sell these products to you. But when you default, they will bring ugly men, very hard-faced, ugly-looking men. Not those beautiful ladies that they brought to come and give you the product. Did you get what I said? Yeah. So I was in Shell, and then we had money. And they brought beautiful ladies to come and sell product. When I defaulted, they brought very mean-looking men. All those ladies disappeared. Mean-looking men to collect their money. That was when I knew that system was not designed for normal people. Okay, so this is aha moment number 2. So the first one I just gave you is that the first aha moment I just gave you is that the system is designed to exclude you by default. The second aha moment about the financial system, global financial system, is that capital doesn't come first. Systems come first. I learned this the hard way, practical way. That's why I hardly do any session without talking about systems. I hardly do any session without mentioning either directly, if you have noticed, either directly or indirectly, because money loves structure. And many of us are struggling, not because we don't have money or that we can't make money. Many of us are struggling because there's no structure for our money. There's no system. So when I started this personal finance, because what I actually do for a living is I consult for corporate organizations. I help them develop leaders, and then I run design thinking sprints and those things. I lead board retreats and that for corporate organizations. That's actually what I do, where I make my money. But then when I started this, and I started it because, number one, what happened to me, my personal finance, and then what I see going on with so many people who are between 35 or between 35 years and 70 years. And I saw that there is no voice for this demographic on YouTube, on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere. There's no voice for this demographic. Now, what were the three things I discovered was a problem? Because you find people who are in their 50s and they still haven't mastered their finances. You find people who are in their 60s, they are terrified because they don't have the energy they had at 25. And retirement is staring them in the face and they have zero, like nothing saved. You find people who have worked for, like a 58-year-old man sent me a message, said he'd worked for over 30 years. And then when he looks back, that there is nothing to show for it. So I got burdened and concerned about this demographic. And then there were three problems I noticed that created it. Why people are in their 40s and they are still broke. Why people are in their 50s and they are still struggling the way they struggled with money in the 1930s. And then a lot of people say it is demons, is witches and wizards. But that's a lot of ignorance. So I found out three common problems keeping people in their late 30s, in their 40s and 50s and 60s financially stuck. Number one, very low financial literacy. Very low financial literacy. People in my generation, most of them are still running that algorithm that the education gave them. You see, I went to school all my life. I graduated my first degree. I graduated in 1988. Throughout my time in primary school, in secondary school, and in the university, not once did they teach me anything about money. Not once did they mention anything about how I was going to make a living, what I was going to do with that certificate when I came out. Not once. And then the school system prepares you to come out and start looking for a job. Very terrible. And it's still like that for many people. So there's very low financial literacy. My goodness, I meet people in their 50s who have no single investment. And I was talking with a young man this afternoon. He's 40. He's never had anything about the stock market. Now he's making a lot of money. He has energy. He goes around in his profession. But I was telling him, how long are you going to be able to do that? Because his money, the relationship with his money is effort 1-to-1. You must exert effort before you make money. And I said that equation is not sustainable. By the time you're in your 50s and the time you're in your 60s, you won't be running around the way you are running. And you don't have any investment. You don't have any assets. So how are you going to retire? So the popular quote everybody knows by now by Warren Buffett, he said, if you don't have a system or if you don't have asset that makes money while you are asleep, he said you would die working. Because that's the truth. So I find people in their 40s, in their 50s and 60s, and in their 30s who have no single, because they don't know. So, problem number one, low financial literacy. Problem number two, they are not investing in the financial markets. Hey, you are in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you don't know what ETF is, and you don't have anything in mutual funds, you don't have any stocks, you don't even know anything about crypto. What do you think that your 60s, 70s, and 80s would look like? A man, I think the man should be in his 70s. I've been hearing about him for a long time because he started investing in stocks probably in the 60s, 70s. So he exited the bank recently. I think First Bank precisely. That he'd invested in for long time, and it probably has millions of shares in it. I don't know whether the number is 300 billion naira or 30 billion in one. And this man should be like in his 70s, if not 80s. But many of you, at the rate you are going now, The only prayer, the only thing that will save you is your children. But you see, why be a burden on your children when you are 70s and 80s? See, a man like that who is exiting First Bank with 300 billion naira or something, I don't know how much it is, but somebody can check it. I think his name is Oba or Tudeko. Now, that kind of person is not going to, if he needs to go for medical checkup in China, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, Germany, or United States, he is not going to start waiting for his children or his grandchildren to sponsor it. But that's, for many of you, that's the only hope. And you better pray that your children will be so wealthy that you won't be a burden. But why not make your own money? So that's problem number 2. Many people between 35 and 70 don't have any assets in the financial markets. And they even run away from the financial markets. Number 3, I discovered that these people don't have any system for their money. Yeah, somebody said, Augustine said it's over 300 billion. He exited with over 300 billion. And he didn't start today. The same thing he did is what I tell you every day to do. Money runs on patience. Patience is strategy for money. But you need a system. You consistently follow for 2 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15, for 20 years. And then you can exit. 300 billion. Do you know how much that is? Is that not like $200 million? Or is it $20 million or something like that? For that age, that's decent. That's decent. There's nothing that guy wants to do with money that he can't. This is just one company. He has other companies that he has stakes like that. I think he has similar stakes in Nestle. Okay? So, capital doesn't come first. Systems come first. Because we've been brainwashed everywhere, because the capital is not actually an excuse. Like I'm going to show you, lack of capital, access to capital. So I'm going to show you the back door. After today, you will not have that excuse again. Oh, I lack capital. I don't have capital. I don't have anybody to sponsor me. Stop it. Stop it. So we've been thinking, get capital, start something, become successful. That's a script that we were brainwashed. Get capital, start something, and then become successful. But wealthy people operate differently. I know a lot of wealthy people, quiet wealthy people, that the type you don't see on social media, but they're very wealthy. Because actually, really, they're truly wealthy people. The truly wealthy people are not on Facebook showing you their private jets and mansions. They are not. See, they operate differently. Number 1, they build a small system. Number 2, that system generates small cash flow. Number 3, the cash flow attracts capital. And number 4, capital now scales the system. Just in that sequence. I don't know how many of you know about, I'm trying to remember his name. Each time his name but he's the guy that founded one of the biggest Nigerian transport companies, Chisco. Chief something, I have to remember his name. But I was invited as a keynote speaker in an event where he was chairman. So he was chairman sitting, so when sitting on the same, high table as they call it. So he was sitting here and I was sitting next to him. And then within that time, he told me stories. Then he gave me a copy of his book that he wrote. And that man is a multi-billionaire. But his story is incredible. He started life, and then Cosmas, the Coscharis guy, also has a similar story. This guy started with something like a wheelbarrow, selling things, getting small cash flow, and he wasn't even educated. Neither was Cosmas, that's Coscharis. They were not formally educated, but they started something small. They built a system. I don't know one of them. There's another guy who started renting a wheelbarrow. Not any of two of them, but I heard a story about a guy who is also a billionaire today. He started by renting renting wheelbarrows because he couldn't buy one. He was renting wheelbarrows to use, for some of you, who have been to West African markets, there are these people who operate barrows. They, as you're buying things, you're putting it in their barrow, in the wheelbarrow, and then ultimately they push it to your car and you pay them. That's how this man started. And then from there, he bought his own wheelbarrow. True story. From there, this guy bought his own wheelbarrow. From there, he now bought more wheelbarrows and started renting out. Do you see system? Do you see system? Because the bank couldn't give it. But today, these guys can get money from the bank. Today, Coscharis, the Cosmas Madoka guy that GT Bank gave 32 billion without collateral. Today, he can get 100 billion from any bank. Because he's built a system, he's built trust and integrity. The problem is that many of us want to jump the process and go to the bank when you haven't established anything to start asking them for money. And then you can go there and say, after all, you give this billionaire, you give Dangote $100 million. And I'm only asking you to give me $10,000, and then you're not giving me. No, it doesn't operate like that, okay? So this is why capital never finds you when you're waiting for it. But it shows up once you start moving. Capital shows up because capital is attracted to movement. Capital is attracted to structure. I've been saying it. Capital is attracted to track record. Track record. And because I've been doing this consistently, do you know what it takes? Do you know what it takes to do what I do every day? To do this every day, to come teach the world, and whether you are there or not, I hold it because it's not actually about you, it's about me. Because I told myself, can I do 1,000 days? Can I do 1,000 days of teaching people personal finance, teaching the whole world personal finance? So it's actually about me, a challenge I set by myself. And of course, the videos will always remain there for generations to learn. So now, because of track record, brands have started approaching me. International brands have started approaching me. So do video for me and then we'll pay you such and such thousands of dollars for one video. Because of track record. Because you can go to my YouTube channel and see that this man has been showing up consistently, teaching high quality content. So now they can approach me. You see how capital is attracted by track record. And they are not approaching you. Because on what basis? Because if you are capital, will you approach somebody who doesn't have track record? If you are capital, put yourself in the shoes of capital. Where will you go? Will you go to track record or you go to one without track record? Will you go to systems, well-built system, or will you go to chaos? You tell me. So capital chases people who are already building something. And when you understand this, you will stop waiting for capital to start your life. You stop waiting for capital to start your life. I hope somebody's already getting free, already getting a sense of freedom. Aha moment number 3. You beat the system by playing a different game, not playing the game of a system. So let me say something that might surprise you. You do not beat a system, the financial system of the world, by fighting it. You see this every day, people carry placards, they are demonstrating in France, in the UK. Oh, cost of living, how did this, British people, with your accent, how do you even say it, that accent, sounds ridiculous sometimes to me. On a bottle of water. Okay, so you see protest cards, cost of living is high, this and that, minimum wage, she raised it. They are demonstrating in America. They are demonstrating in Ghana, in Nigeria, South Africa. Everybody carrying placards, the 1% versus the 99%. You can't beat the system by fighting it. After all those protests, what changes? What changes? After all the protests, what changes? Nothing. So you don't beat the system by fighting it. You beat the system by bypassing it. Is somebody getting value here? Okay, so if you're here and you haven't subscribed to the channel, yeah, take a pause and do that. Subscribe to the channel right now. And if you haven't loved the sent your love or something and you love what you're hearing, if it's making sense, yeah, like it and share it. Share it, distribute it so that others can have the opportunity to do it. So you beat the system by bypassing it. You stop joining protests. You stop joining all those protests against rich people and things. It doesn't make sense. You stop joining those protests. You stop begging for capital. You stop waiting for loan. My goodness. People are always waiting for loan from the government. You stop hoping that someone will discover your genius. And I plead with you, Africans, stop this nonsense about destiny helper. My goodness. My goodness. One gentleman started this destiny helper thing. And then he will use all kinds of scripture, use all kinds of, terminologies to... And then people are now making themselves useless, waiting, and they're praying, my destiny helper will locate me this year. My destiny helper. What? So stop waiting for destiny helper. You build your own capital engine. Why don't you get out? Get out of the situation and become other people's destiny helpers. Why are you waiting for your own? You be destiny helpers. Even Christ himself said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And you are there, my destiny helper, locate me. My destiny helper, locate me. And then they're shaking. My destiny helper, locate me. Locate me. Locate me. Locate me. Locate me. Throughout the night. In the neighborhood, you hear some people praying loud in the middle of the night. My destiny helper, where are you? Where are you, my destiny helper? What are you waiting for? Locate me, locate me, locate me. Stupidity to the highest degree. Stop waiting for all those things. Build your own capital engine. Become other people's destiny helper. And then that brings us to the core promise of the video, what I have promised. So I'm going to give you a 3-step solution on how to beat a system designed to lock you out. So I'll give it to you plainly. Step number 1, start with the smallest possible cash flow engine. Okay, everybody type cash flow engine. So don't wait to start with capital. In fact, my mentor, he's 86 this year. My mentor told me many years ago when I was struggling after I quit Shell and then started my business. And then there was this lack of access to capital situation because in Nigeria, for instance, we have this bank called the Bank of Industry. And I went to the Bank of Industry for capital. They said, no, we don't fund services. We only fund if you're going to do heavy, going to do this. In fact, that time they said I should do printing. That if I want to go into printing, that they will give me funds, to bring in machine. And it's like, how will I change my passion and go into printing that I had no business with, I had no idea with, just because I want to get funds. So I hit a brick wall there. Then my mentor said to me, he said, Obo, if you want to start a business, if you have capital, buy and sell. Okay, buy and sell, meaning, of course, you can get an office, you can get an inventory, you can get machines, you can employ people. So that's what it means. If you have capital to set it up, buy and then sell, produce your inventory and then sell. He said, if you don't have capital, then you sell and buy. If you don't have capital, you sell and buy. You reverted. Case closed. In other words, there is no excuse anymore. So you start with one tiny engine. Your cash flow engine can be a coach. You're a coach. You can be a freelancer. You can be a microservice. You can create a digital product. You can start a local service. Start from somewhere. You can resell. You can resell. You can do retail arbitrage. There are so many things. You can do even small content monetization. You can do print on demand. I know a young man who does print on demand. He designs these things on t-shirts and then he sells it using his Instagram handle and people buy. So start with a small cash flow engine, something that you can start with some measure of discipline and determination, not dollars. See, because the moment cash starts to flow, even small, something changes. What changes? You see, your confidence increases. There's something that lack of capital, I don't know if you've noticed, there's something it does to you. If you be honest with yourself, it's not that our confidence should come. I'm not saying, because somebody was asking, is making money the goal in life? Nobody's saying that. But sometimes, people who ask such things have a warped identity. And people who ask such things, it's like money doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. We are not here just to make money and all that. Okay. How is that going for you? And then the next day, people who say things like that, they are out. They're the ones out begging us, sliding into our DM. Please, I can't feed my family. Can you give me? How do those people live? They go around begging some of us who believe that money is important. Capital is important. Capital is important. I have villages that I want to sink boreholes so that they can have access to water. How are you going to do it without capital? And then I had schools that I had to send my children to. I wanted to send my children to. How was I going to do that without capital? And then you're here asking, is money the goal in life? What kind of stupid question is that? Okay, so when cash flow starts coming, small cash starts moving in your life, your confidence increases. The other very powerful thing is that your network expands. If you are poor, if you look around you now, you see that all the people around you are poor people, your friends. Poor people. You don't have friends. You have friends who only come to you to go and drink. It's Friday night today. There are a lot of people who should be listening to this, but they are out hanging in the nightclub. People are in the nightclub, not here. Because that's what your circle of friends is. But when you start generating some healthy cash flow, you start finding yourself, expanding your network. Your network starts expanding and growing into communities where they make sense, where they talk about opportunities. For instance, I've met incredible people. Cash allows you to meet people, and you join masterminds and people who reason like people who are going somewhere, not drifters. So your financial identity also shifts because you start seeing yourself as someone, who is also capable of delivering results. Because you are seeing results, you start believing a little bit more in your capabilities and in your capacity, and then your cash flow becomes a proof of your competence, a proof of competence not just to you, but even to the financial institutions and other people around you. I can make some phone calls. I can make a phone call and then get a certain amount of money. I can make a phone call right now and tell somebody, please wire 2 million or 5 million to my account, and it will happen. But it wasn't always like that. It's got to be built because people know, the people I'm calling know that I have the cash flow to give it back to them. If I say, okay, this Monday is coming back to you on Monday, it's happening. So create your own starting line. This is step 1 to beating the system, create your own starting line. Step number 2, turn that cash flow into track record. Remember, I've talked about track record, and I was asking you, imagine that you yourself, you are capital. You are capital, you're a bag of dollars. And then you have 2 men in front of you, and you are deciding where to go. This guy is the one that doesn't have structure in his life, goes to the nightclub to hang out with his friends, sees the car and buys just when money comes into his hand. He doesn't think, he just sees something he likes and he buys. Goes to rent a hotel to spend time with girls. This happens, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, for 3 months in a hotel. Okay, so that's the person number 1. And then this other guy has a track record. He started the business. The guy I told you, for instance, he started by renting a wheelbarrow and then buying his own, and then buying 20 more wheelbarrows that people were renting. If you were $1 million, a bag of dollars, who will you go to? The nightclub guy or the entrepreneur? So that's how track record attracts capital. So the way you now deploy the cash flow that's coming in can help you build a track record. And then you're also capturing it in the financial system, because that's why when you go to the bank to take a facility, they want to see the cash flow in your account. They want to see the history, your statement. So track record, therefore, is a form of currency. Track record is currency because banks trust track record. Investors trust track record. That's why many times before I invest in a company, I do some research. I want to even find out the CEO of the company. I want to find out about the directors of the company. Do you know why? And then sometimes, when I want to invest in a particular company, like when I invested in Charms, I looked up everyone that's a director, and I saw one guy there who has a track record that I know personally. Then I had confidence. I just poured money into Charms because I know somebody, even if I don't know everybody, I know some people there. And then sometimes I go to LinkedIn to look up these individuals who are in the board. I look them because capital investors trust track record, and I want to see to understand the track record of the managers of the business, of the CEO, of the board, before putting my money there. Because if you put money into a company, into a stock that has a serial entrepreneur who always, everywhere he is gone, the companies he's gone to before, he's turned it around. Put your money there. It's safe. Okay? Partners trust track record, and your customers also trust track record. So your consistent cash flow, even if it's $50, even if it's $100, even if it's $200 a week, it becomes evidence that you are not a gamble. So you see why track record is important. So if you show me somebody, for instance, with a 90-day consistent cash flow engine, and I will show you a person who will never struggle to get capital. Because now you have data, you have momentum, you have receipts, you have credibility, you have direction, you have proof. These are the things that Africans should be going for. Instead of going for vigil every day, doing 100-day fast, praying for money. Wow. Wow. Money is not a miracle. It's a system. It's a system. Apply this wisdom. Apply this wisdom, and then you have more money. You can now focus your prayer on, better and more important things. And every day, you are there looking for money, praying for money for 100 days, or doing this challenge or the other every night. People can't sleep because you're praying for money. This is what you should do instead. Okay, so this is how you defeat that risk filter that the system uses to keep you out. Step number 3, now convert the track record you've built into capital without begging anyone. So this is where everything changed, because when you have your cash flow, your small cash flow, doesn't have to be big, you have a consistent system, and then you have 60 to 90 days or even 1 year of receipts. It's good to even take 1 or 2 years to build track record. When you do, you will unlock capital from 3 channels. You want to know those 3 channels? Channel number 1, internal capital. Your own cash flow becomes your investor. This is the method the poor never use, and this is how the rich begins. So you have your internal capital, and there's something about your cash flow being your internal investor. I teach everyday money, and I teach people in my wealth mentorship group about everyday money. Of course, you can actually join the financial fitness challenge. One of the modules is everyday money. It's in the description section. You can join my wealth mentorship group. And somebody was asking about stock recommendations. You can find that my stock recommendations are, in my wealth mentorship group. Okay, so channel number 1 is internal capital. Your own cash flow becomes your investor. Channel number 2 is social capital. Social capital is capital, and it can be monetized. So people trust you because you now have evidence. For example, I have evidence. I've done this for many years. And even this year, a couple of months ago, I believe it was April or May, I gave a recommendation, some stock recommendations to people in the Financial Fitness Challenge in May. I think it's cohort 5. Those 7 stocks, some returned 200% during the bull run. Some returned 100 and something percent. Some returned 100% within 3 months. So now, people in the group trust when I now make a recommendation because I have evidence. Then you start having partners. People reach out to me because they have seen evidence on my YouTube channel. They've seen consistency. So people are reaching out, brands are reaching out, partners, people who want to partner me are reaching out. Okay, and clients multiply. So I've had people who said, oh, they watch my video and they want to find what if I can do this such and such for their company. And then I've gotten clients, and then your reputation now starts converting into opportunity. You have to pay attention to reputation, especially young people in this generation. So when you serve a client, serve wholeheartedly. Don't just look at that client. You have to look at what we call in business the lifetime value. And you also want to consider the word of mouth multiplier. If you serve somebody well, one person, don't just serve with the mind to, okay, I just want to make all the money I can make in this, and then you don't serve. And then you leave the person, the customer, with a bad taste. Now that customer will never come back. And number 2, you lose him for a lifetime. I'm sure you've had programs, that you bought into, or things you bought, or traders, who cheated you. And it happened 7 years ago. You've never gone back. So don't run your business. Reputation is important. Defend because your reputation is finance. Okay? So capital is not just money. Capital is trust. So build your social capital. And then the 3rd channel is now formal capital. So now banks, lenders, microfinance institutions, angel networks, fintech lenders, they start responding to you differently. It would amaze you how many times the bank manager in the bank I use has called me into his office and said, let's do business. We have, come and take facility. Can you imagine? come and take facility. You know, and then he was asking me to come and take facility of up to 400 million. But once beaten, twice shy, like they say. And the best time to actually borrow money is when you don't need it. Like, no, I don't need it. And out of desperation, you are very likely going to become a slave to the lender. You know? So I didn't have anything to do with that money at the time. But I'm just telling you, look at now, the banks are now asking me to come and take a facility because of formal capital. So now, because you're no longer just an idea guy, you have proof, you have receipts, you've built a system that you can demonstrate. You are not begging, you are not praying, you are negotiating. Okay, so the system can lock you out, but it can't stop you. You beat the system by refusing to wait for permission. You build something, even small, simple, and humble. And then your system now becomes your track record, it becomes your financial security, it becomes your bargaining power, it becomes your negotiating tool, and then capital producing engine. So capital doesn't go to the talented. As you can see, there's so many talented people out there. It doesn't go to the gifted or to the deserving. A guy came to my house many years ago. It was like 2 weeks after MTN started a project. I think one of their most massive projects they used to call, I don't know if they still do it, they called it Project Fame at the time. And it was such a big thing. Project Fame was such a big thing. And then, of course, they were spending billions, you know, in that program. This young guy came to my house with a notebook of ideas, that same idea. He had had it for 2 years. He had that Project Fame thing. He had had it, drafted everything for it. So it was as if somebody just lifted his idea and sold to MTN. Did you know one thing? Idea does not like just living in your head. If an idea comes to you and you don't process it, what is it going to do? It will go to someone else. See, so many people are receiving the same idea at the same time because idea wants to be birthed. So they come in as frequencies. We are all receiving these incredible ideas at any particular time, but only very few people know how to turn that. So that's why capital doesn't just go to you because you have an idea. You've got to, create a system. You've got to start small. You've got to take action. Capital flows to systems. And the moment your life becomes a system and not just a survival routine, capital will find you. Did you hear that? I think I need to say it again so that it can sink. The moment your life becomes a system and not a survival routine, capital will find you. Okay? So did you get blessed tonight? All right. Christopher. Hi, Christopher. Yeah, convert track record to. So what was your aha moment today? And then let me just scroll through and see if there is any question I can answer. But everybody, is our ritual here. What was your aha moment today? What made it for you today? What is one key idea that you are going to walk out of this place with? Bright, thank you. Bright Asebu says, sir, it's only God that will reward you for the value you offer free of charge. My pleasure indeed, okay? What was your aha moment, everybody? Okay, Sam Daddy says, this has been my greatest struggle, building something that can work without my presence. I'm still in my 20s. Any advice? Yeah. It's by creating a system. System is what flows it. So I don't know exactly what it is that you are currently doing, but what you can do in creating something that runs without you. Let me give you a very simple formula. Start from the end. Say something like, something like, get your paper, your journal in front of you. What can I build that if I traveled for 1 year will still be there after I come back? So imagine that you have a business that is running without you. Then you are asking yourself, use your imagination, ask yourself, what do I need to put in place for this thing? What are the 3 things, the 4 things, the 5 pillars I need to put in place for this thing not to run without me? Make note, then start implementing and learning until you generate the system. So you've got to think about, because every business has 3 parts, and only 3 parts. And it has with regard to value. So there is the part that creates value, the part of your business that creates value for the customer, because the business is built on value. There must be a value, and the value relates to the problem, the pain point that you're solving. So you create value. That's one part of the system of business. There's another system that delivers value. And what does that mean, to deliver value? When you create the value, you've got to deliver it to the customer. And the delivery involves how you advertise the business, the channels. The delivery involves how you, if someone buys, how you are going to get that service delivered. It could be online, it could be physical. That's delivery, and that's where logistics and all that come in. The third part of any business is how you capture value. How do you get paid? How much is it? So to build a system that will last without you, you are asking yourself, what needs to happen for the value to be constantly created without me? What do I need to put there? What automations do I need to put there? What automations, or what do I have to put there in order for value to be delivered to customers without my being there? What do I need to put in place in order to capture my value automatically, to manage the finances, to receive payments and things like that? So I hope that helped. So think from the end. Imagine that you already have a business. You already have something that is running without you. Then walk back to where you are right now and say, okay, what do I need to put in place right now in order to make that happen? So that I can run something that can stay without me. Okay, so I'm seeing some aha moments, quite a number of them here. And then Michael Veli says, I haven't still grasped the concept of a system. Okay, so I just described one, so I hope that helped. Okay. DO Plus says, your aha moment is sell to buy or buy to sell. Okay, so if you have money, you buy and sell. If you don't have money, you sell and buy. Niger Sweet says, aha moment, that money loves structure. Okay. Kaidi Vic DIY says, my aha moment was that the system was designed to restrict the weak. Absolutely. Augustine says, my aha moment is no destiny helper is coming to help you. Good for you. Although, coach, you're my destiny helper for the information you share here every day. I'm glad to be. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. So we've rounded off this week today. We are going to continue on Monday. So for those of you just joining us, we do this every day, every weekday, Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. GMT +1, 8 p.m. West Africa, Lagos. Okay, so that's when we do it every weekday. Please share the video, and then I will encourage you to join the Financial Fitness Challenge, my community. The details to join are in the comment section. So that's where we really break things down. You get access to worksheets that can help you implement the things that we are learning. You get me in the group coming in once in a while. We do have a Zoom call, and then answering your questions, making stock recommendations and things. It's a close community, meeting other people, who can also help you. The details are in the description section of this very video. And so till Monday, whatever happens, keep showing up and be good with your money and be hopeful. It's never too bad. Your situation has never gone so bad that you can't bounce up and then become one of those multi-millionaires in dollars that I will run into in an airport in Germany or in Antigua or in New York or something, and then you come to me and say thank you. I was down, but because I listened to you, I've made millions of dollars. I'm really looking forward to that community. So God bless you and have a good evening.